But this is a panel where we're talking about the Anvil Pro product, and that's a new name, of course, because in December we joined the Tractor Zoom family, which is now the Anvil Pro product to go along with the Tractor Zoom product, which is inventory management on the market side. Think Kelly Blue Book type information, and the TractorZoom.com, which is the advertising platform there as well. Being the CRM and the dealership platform that we are, it is important to distinguish the data privacy and concerns that we have there as well. So there are distinct advertising data sharing, but everything within Anvil Pro is your data, you control it, you have access to it, we don't. So that's the consideration there when you look at the different products that we have as well. So I just wanted to hit that one right off the bat there. So we do have 4 members of the panel here, and I'll have them introduce themselves in a minute. But one of the things the platform does is we consolidate information from different places. So one of the things that they'll talk about probably is our integrations to some of the other systems and how it improves workflow, having those systems talking to each other and not having to go back and forth. The other one is communication and breaking down some of those silos in the dealership, and we'll talk about that. We do also automate quite a bit of different workflows and order to cash and pipeline and just marketing requests are some of the areas where we have an automation engine built in that does save time and effort and improves efficiency within the dealership. And of course, the big piece there is inventory management, search, bringing technology to that. With things like saved inventory search, being able to automate those requests from customers that I'd like this, find this for me, etc. So those things you'll hear more about. But first I want to introduce the team. We'll start at the other end. Brian, do you want to start first and just tell the crew who you are, and then we'll just go down the line this way.
Good morning. My name is Brian Marshall. I am the Corporate Systems Director for United Ag and Turf Northeast and United Construction and Forestry.
I'm Coy Burns. I work for Greenway Equipment. My title is Operations Support Manager. I've been there for about 2 years now.
I'm Neil Devin at Canning Equipment. My role is data analytics and incentives lead. I've been there 3 years.
Thomas DeMint with James River Equipment and Four Rivers Equipment. I'm Strategic Planning Manager. We are both ag and construction dealership at James River and construction dealership at Four Rivers Equipment. And I've been on the dealer side now for 7 years.
Thank you. We'll just start with a question of the crowd. Is there anyone who wants to start out with a question? If not, I'll pull one from my list. And we'll start with the mentor. Did I see a hand or was that nope? Well, I'll pull from the list here. We'll get the pump started here. Anyone on the panel, can you share an example of how integrating the different systems and some of the technologies like our CRM and inventory management has made a difference in your dealership or how you're using that?
I'll start with that one. Previously, we found our sales representatives were going to a lot of different places. If you really followed where they're going in the sales process, they're bouncing between 4, 5, 6 different screens between JD Quote, wherever they're going for inventory, to find programs, then your email to communicate. I mean, they're bouncing all over the place. And that's one of the values that we're finding is bringing things together into one place. We were already accustomed to a workflow as we previously used Sedona workflow, but now getting all the information in one place so that they can look up their inventory, they can find customer information, both on the computer, but most importantly, we now have made this the most powerful tool in their arsenal because everything is available at their fingertips. And they're able to use that to actually communicate amongst the team, to see where their deals are, to respond to things in real time. I'm sure we'll get on communication stuff a little bit later on, but values bring it all in one place because you've got sources of truth from your inventory to your business system to what's coming out of JD Quote. It's getting things into one place. I feel like as an organization, we're just scratching the surface on this. So I don't want to make it sound like we figured this all out because we've not. But we're on a platform that now we're seeing where we can start pulling and bringing in all these pieces to put efficiency back into the lives of our salespeople. And if there was a fear when I put all our ag stores on the full product over this past winter, it was that, man, I'm gonna have to learn things all over again and it's gonna make my life hard. But our promise to them was we're going to put efficiency back into their day, and that's what we've been delivering on. So it's been helpful from that context.
Open up to any other panel members if you want to answer that or add to it.
The only thing that I would add there, and completely agree with that, but we're pretty new to the Anvil product. But we've had the opportunity to train several new salesmen, and it's night and day difference when you start taking away different passwords, different usernames that they have to log into different systems. So it's hard to train new people when you have to go here for this and here for this and here for this. You're bringing it all together, and you can see it from the beginning, but it all just kind of makes sense to them.
Go ahead. There's a question back there. Can you please stand up and state your question?
Marshall,
Yeah.
you had to integrate not only a whole different series of CNF dealerships,
Yeah.
but you pulled together a bunch of family-owned green dealerships.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, John.
So, I'll
He's
take
only 21 years old.
I wish. So honestly, having to do that and making these system changes when that occurred has probably been one of the best things for us because even a lot of them coming out of not being off of the Equip system, we only had several locations that were on Equip even originally, made it so that a lot of prior, I'll say, bad habits and how things, or just things that they were doing differently, right, in their each of their own worlds, no longer apply any longer. So bringing this in when we did, so we went on at the end of 21, which was right after we just got done acquiring our 14 construction and forestry locations, allowed us to start that process. We had just gotten the bulk of our initial acquisitions, of course, done on the ag and turf side, and of course, we were flailing around trying to get invoices into the team and just keep things moving and flowing right. We were using shared mailboxes, right? You name it, to try to just keep things moving at that point. And when we went on this platform, it allowed us to finally consolidate all of those processes at that point and bring them into one place. Now, I know a lot of us will try to sit here and say there are big differences, right, between the ag and turf side of the house and the construction and forestry side of the house, especially on the sales side and the way they do business. But behind the scenes, the flow, right, that workflow can still be very similar, right? There may be some different requirements and what's needed to get through it. But at the end of the day, right, it allowed us to, for the most part, standardize a process that now applies on both sides of the house for us. We do have two separated workflows for those two sides of the house, but you'll find they are very similar to one another until you get into the rental side of the business. So, it's been quite the experience over the last couple of years.
Would anyone else like to ask a question? We've got a follow-up. Someone over here has their Okay, I'll go ahead.
Jason, I'll ask one.
Yeah.
So, since Marguerite won't. She lost her voice. So a lot of dealers, from my understanding, have been historically on handle and workflow. So I got the head nods. So specifically for you guys, a two-part question. One is, describe, if you would, some of your decision process. Why, and it's not to badmouth those systems, but what were the advantages that you were seeking, so to make that decision? And then two, after you've implemented, talk about, I guess, the ramp up, the conversion to go from the old systems to the new for the teams, specifically around the workflow side, please.
So I'll hit this real quick. So again, coming into it with United, they didn't have any of that prior, but the dealer group I came from prior to United was great. Thank you, sir. Was using again the Sedona workflow product and the Handle product. So I probably personally could have taken the easy way out and said, hey, all right, we already know these platforms, right? We could have gone right down that path. But again, knowing what I knew at that point in time and what they were, and again, after getting with Jason, just getting everything into one place, right? And no longer having to operate out of, again, two separate platforms. And just, again, the future existed there. It just, honestly, at that point, it made it very easy. Even though it wasn't a comfortable choice, it made it a very easy choice to make that move and go with the Anvil product, moving forward. So,
I guess, so for quick context, we're an IntelliDealer. Before we were on Workflow, before we switched to what we call Can Connect with the Anvil system. So our main goal was to open avenues for collaboration and visibility amongst the teams. That was our main struggle before. And with the system, we've really been able to automate a lot of processes and just stop the problems when a deal would be in one person's hands, no one else could see it. If they dropped the ball, the whole dealer dropped the ball. So now we can have an enterprise approach with a lot of systems in place to stop that.
I would throw in, I agree with what these guys said, but really it's two systems in one, right? So you've got that efficiency right there that you can train, you can get people started and then work just completely out of the system. Handle's a good product, and we've got users that we're going to cut the cord this Friday, and they're squawking pretty bad about it. But it's just a different way of doing things. And I would argue I got to learn both of them kind of at the same time. But this is a little more intuitive to me. So it's relatively simple, and then the customization is there, right? So you can do whatever you want to do. And
Wait a minute. Not whatever we want.
You said we could do anything.
Jason's never told me no. So, but
Now, Corey, you just got done rolling out through several stores there. You want to tell a little bit about that as well? Because that was the second half.
yeah. So the last thing I was going to hit on there for Brian's question is we had, I think, 17 steps in Sedona workflow, which is crazy. So we were able to take that down to, I think we're at 7 now. And I mean, that drives efficiency in itself. So we've got the ability to add requests on. So instead of being part of the order to cash flow, you can build those specific items out as a request, and that'll go to the specific person. That's what a lot of our steps in Sedona workflow were done for. But it was just done in a very inefficient way. So this was a way for us to build in efficiency and make that cleaner, and then go to the appropriate person instead of having to worry about every deal having to pass through every step, and it may not matter. As far as our rollout, so the one thing I would also add on there, I was the guy that did everything at our place, and I don't know that it would have been successful without having somebody that was fully dedicated to it. So I think that's very important to call out. There's too many other things going on in the day-to-day life. I think you need somebody that's going to be the owner of it. I'm not saying I did a great job, but I was the owner of it, and somebody had to keep the train moving forward. So I think that's very important. I spent some time rebuilding a lot of the things that we had in Handle to make sure that was ready. So when I got the questions of where do you find this or how do you do this, that was there. And then we brought in a team and actually got feedback from sales and location managers during the development process. So what do you want? What's your problem areas? And we drove efficiency that way. And then for the final rollout, I did a 5-store pilot for about 6 weeks in December. So when things were relatively slow, I picked some high quality locations with good individuals that are going to give good feedback, let them run for about 6 weeks, and then I cut the cord. So over about a week time, I went to every location, brought them together, and that day we cut them off of workflow. So, and it's been going pretty well ever since. It was hectic for a couple of weeks, but it went pretty well.
I'll add to that. I guess we got some volume now. I'll add to that a little bit. We talked about Handle, we talked about kind of implementation there, and this really is kind of, if you boil it down, really 2 big products in one. I mean, one is the whole CRM side of things, and then the other is, how you're doing business, the whole workflow and just managing your deals. We were on Handle prior to being on, we call it the river in our organization. And, we probably launched Handle gosh, I lose track of the number of times Anvil got launched throughout the years. We struggled with the stickiness on there. Feedback I kept hearing from folks that it wasn't intuitive. They just, we struggled for adoption. I'll be frank about it. When we moved folks onto the river, we started with the CRM side of it first. And we started with our construction locations predominantly because that's where we really needed, the focus and be able to put attention back on actual account management. And having a mobile app where you have all that information at your fingertips, we took out what was a very manual, just reporting into a database and what benefit did they get back, to now they're on a platform that they can see the information they can see about the customer, they can see the accounts receivable, they can see the equipment. Now, because they can see the equipment on the account, they can take off a service request or a parts request. They can collaborate with their team members about what's going on with an account. Their emails that they're sending are automatically tying back to the customer accounts through Einstein. Like, there's all these features and functionality, some pretty cool, nifty features that now create stickiness to make them want to use it, because now they're not just putting data in, they're getting insights back out to make their jobs easier. So we focused on that first, and then we took on the workflow side of things. Because we've been using Stellar Workflow for years, and it worked well for us, but we needed to be on a platform to move us into the 21st century, and one that we can grow with as a company. And our needs have changed and gotten more complex, and now we have the ability to where we can more effectively manage the deals in the pipeline, see what's going on. A key thing that was missing was visibility. I mean, it's always, well, we know what our sales are currently for the month, but where are we going? And we just didn't have that good of a visibility. Now we have dashboards that can give us that insight. We're next going to start working on more advanced reporting and things like that to keep a better finger on that pulse. But I think you kind of hit on it earlier when you talked about rolling out, starting with a small group or pilots and things. We found that to be very effective in our rollouts as well. We pull together our user groups, build out, and feel like we're ready to start launching. And then we would beta test with one or a few locations before taking it out to the masses. But once we could do that, then we could effectively roll out to the masses. And I think depending on your organization size, that can make a difference in how you want to do that as well. I mean, we just rolled out through December to January 29 ag locations on the workflow. We did not do a rip the Band-Aid approach, and on Monday everybody's on it. We actually did a phased approach, did 2-week sprints with groups of locations. So we put on 7 to 8 locations at a time over 2-week sprints to make sure that we effectively train folks. And overall, I mean, I was thinking that we were going to have a lot of support requests coming into us and help me, I'm lost, or this isn't working, or whatnot. But honestly, our rollout went a lot smoother than we anticipated. I mean, sure, we had some hiccups and things that come up, but it actually went. We thought we were going to have a lot more folks raising their hands saying, I'm drowning in the river, I need help, and they really weren't. So we found the intuitiveness of the platform really helped a lot.
Okay. Anything else from the crowd? Anybody on this side? Okay. We did talk a little bit about collaboration and just kind of silos within there. Would anybody like to talk about how that internal collaboration is working? Just like on the other pieces there, or how the customer experiences by consolidating the information?
I'm happy to, I'll certainly speak to collaboration.
It's probably not, that's not working.
ITC work. So I'll say this, one of the tools that I never expected, and I don't remember having anything similar to it that I can recall within the prior platforms that I came from, but a tool that is in this system that I would have never expected to be as widely popular as it's become is the chatter tool, and the ability to communicate, whether it be on, again, a purchase order or a request or a piece of equipment. It has become the number one communication tool between salesmen, store managers, service managers. You got a customer account problem. You go in there, you bring up the customer account, you can mention whoever you need to have part of that conversation, right? It's all stored, it's all tracked in there. I would have never have imagined, again, just what that tool was capable of doing for us, and I could never imagine taking it away at this point.
I think Brian, it's also very it's integrated to Outlook, so I don't go in our week or use that often, but I can get chattered and it comes to my Outlook, so even if I'm out of the system, it's got that integration, which is great.
Yep. Yeah. You always get the email back, and then you can even respond back to it either from the email, or you can click on the link and go respond to it from within the platform. So, or from that little cellular device there, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's been an absolutely amazing tool to have within that system. So.
Did that just happen organically for you?
It did. We did not push it at all. It just kind of started going that direction, and people seeing the use case for it right in there. I think the only thing we initially had requested people where the initial use came from was we were dealing with equipment transfers from store to store. And we said, hey, if you're going to do an equipment transfer, you need to go in here, select the piece of equipment. You're going to mention the store manager from the other site to make sure that it's good that you can have a piece of equipment. They'll respond back. We've got the tracking, right? And then it kind of just exploded and continually developed from there, right? And we've, our admin team uses it to communicate back and forth anytime there's an escalated deal. And we've got complete trackability of that conversation, right? And what we're waiting on, what the holdup is. So yeah, it just continued to evolve.
You're absolutely right on that. I remember last year, JDUG, I was sitting in the audience listening to a panel up here, and I heard folks talk about chatter, and we're kind of in the stages of building things out. I'm scratching my head like, how the crap is this going to work? It just didn't make sense to me when I was sitting out in the audience last year. Now we put people on. Holy crap, that works. It is hugely valuable, and it really streamlines communication, accountability, and trackability there. I remember we were at a conference last year, and you shared something with me, and hopefully you don't mind me bringing this up. You had told me about your pets.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you, I've had to use that a couple times, but I heard from Katie, no pets. And I'm like, I'm a dog lover. What's up with that? And he explained to me, no phone calls, no emails, no texts. Chatter replaced that. And once we started, that helped us get our head around it, and it works. It's really cool.
So,
I would just say that people like it too. It's almost fun to them. When we started, we were worried about it too, if people would use it or not. I can promise you they use it. They chatter me on everything. So we had to tell them to cool it a little bit. So it was like, my phone was blowing up. But they didn't know what to chatter on, but they were using it, and now they're kind of learning what's appropriate. The equipment transfers, just acknowledge it from other locations, but it's been really good, powerful.
yeah, and especially with that no pets type saying that we have, we really operate off of it. It's not chatter, it didn't happen. So if you try to say that someone didn't do their job, but it's not in there, you're the one that screwed up your deal and slowed it down. So it really places the responsibility on the appropriate people.
And just a small tidbit to add that what would make the difference there is, even if you get the email like you mentioned in the back there, it's in the context of the stock unit. It's in the context of the purchase order. So whatever it says, you just click it and you're on the PO. So it's not like an email where you get it and it's like, you know the deal I did for Tom? No, I don't know the deal you did for Tom. Click it, it's there. And it's that history that's on that machine, or that purchase order. Switching gears a little bit, one of the things we do is inventory management, and look at both valuations as well as just the inventory management piece there, and the integration pieces there as well. Could you share any of the stories about how your team is using the inventory management piece around the stock units pieces? Anything you want to share there?
I guess ours is probably mainly on the reporting side. So as all of you know, it's pretty hard to pull information out of quote Anvil Pro or Sales Center. But with our Anvil system, all of that is linked into the equipment profile. So all four of those sources pull in, match up to our IntelliDealer data. So we can set up a lot of automated reports where you can see quoting activity, the original eval, all those numbers that go along with it, extremely updated information from Deere, and all that in one place. It's sustainably reported on.
Sure. Any questions from the crowd? Right.
Corey, specifically for you, since you didn't have quite the challenges that Brian did, but from your time of decision and commitment, where you have the software to launch? What was that time?
We signed in March last year, I believe, and then went live in mid-January. So that's, but that includes API integration time, right? We couldn't see data until probably July, I think, so it takes some time to work with JDIS. And then that was working through the product for a couple of months and then bringing in field members. And everybody's got an opinion on what should be or shouldn't be in it, and it's, you gotta cool that off a little bit sometimes, so.
Yeah, I'll say we did things a little differently, and I think it's just because the need that we had, unfortunately, because we didn't have anything already in place. I think if I recall, we signed in like September, and we went live in November. There was we were running full steam ahead. We started with just the initial release of the inventory management side of it, because again, all we had was equipment, right? And we knew we needed to do something, and we needed to get something in place. So we started with that in our November and December release, and then by, I want to say it was January or February at the latest, we had our first workflow, the order to cash in place, going from there. So, you know, I know other dealers I've talked to that have gone on, they've had more time up front, they've done a lot more customizing. But I'll say at the same time, you know, we took the out-of-the-box approach with those guys and what they already had, and we ran with it. And then, you know, we've been customizing it now every step of the way, right, as we're making tweaks and changes, right, based upon what our need is. So, you know, I'll say that certainly a little different approach, but coming from not having anything with, at that point in time, was 40 some odd locations, and need, you know, absolutely needing to get something in place, we got it done, so.
I mean, you guys are using online leads, right?
Yeah, so we feed everything in, we you know, from our website, from our texting platform, from Facebook, all of our sales leads are flowing into our platform.
Ours comes through emails, so.
Yeah, same here.
Send an email, and they read it somehow and fills in the fields.
Yeah, mapping. They map it, yep, so that it comes in, it reads it, it maps it. Podium is our texting platform. Podium is, I guess, API generated, but we have flags in there where if a customer responds back sales, it picks that flag up and then it pulls that message in and it turns it into a lead request.
So Brian, you took a hard left turn there for a second.
Sorry.
So I can bring the rest of the crew along with us here. One of the features we have is marketing requests, so the inbound, that top funnel. So where they were going to was all the different channels you have feeding you leads from the different websites or the advertising pieces that you've got into there. That's what gets consolidated on what we call a request. And that's what they were talking about there for a minute, is from the different channels, it all comes in together and the sales team sees it in one place. So you're using it as well. And
Yeah,
so now you can elaborate more, but it's that inbound marketing funnel was the question. And then what are they doing with some of that information and how it happens? So back to the game.
I mean, that's one of the first low-hanging fruit piece things we actually put into place as an organization. I mean, I think we signed summer year prior, and so by March of last year, our internet sales team was in the river using it. All their leads were funneling into them, and now we built out the flows. Like it's an OCA coming in, and there's a preferred salesperson. That request is actually going direct to that salesperson in the store. But all these different inbound leads, different sources, they go to our internet sales team to triage, respond. They can reassign it to somebody down in the store. If it's like a used piece, somebody needs to take care of it in the store. But we're responding to the request, right away within minutes or hours, worst case. That's probably one of the best things. That took out yet another CRM system that we were paying for as well. We're using another small CRM to handle that function, and it went gone.
Brian, you mentioned that you guys had Facebook included in your CRM. Is that your lead gen or through Messenger, or is it an API?
No, I believe that's still being fed as well through some kind of email functionality where they get the notification. There must be a notification that fires off from the marketing team.
From Messenger?
Yeah, I guess I can't speak. The marketing team's handled that. So okay. I know Facebook requests are feeding in because it's one of the drop-down options for our we break out all of our request types so we can report back on, right, the whole funnel, the whole sales funnel at that point. But I guess I can't remember off the top of my head how Facebook is getting in there, but I know it is getting in there, so.
Okay.
Not only they're doing something more through their website, is actually processing that and doing it as an email. If somebody asks for something off of Facebook, so we're processing through there. It's not through the Facebook API.
Okay. Do you guys have a Facebook API?
We've looked at it, it's just, everybody we've done it with has already done something to make it an email, so we just use that piece off of there. Happy to look into it to see what's into their piece, but it's just not been at the top of the list.
If you're using lead gen through Messenger, which we're having a lot of luck with, it would be nice if it was going into that so that we can, instead of taking a snapshot of the conversation.
Understood?
Okay.
It's good feedback, thank you very much. We'll take that. We have a question over here.
Yeah, just curious. I just sat through a service center roundtable, and part of that is collecting all the customers' machines and having visibility to all of that. Having a conversation, I said, all right, where's this data coming from? Because you got now JDSO, you got CRM, you got your DBS, and there really wasn't a clear answer on cleaning up databases. I mean, we're all trying to get a single point of entry for our employees, as well as one database. I mean, do you yet know the direction? Are customer machines feeding in to here? Will we be able to feed it back so we can have a single database? Or are we going to be back to having stuff everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of living in this a lot right now. Our source of truth for customer-owned equipment is the business system, so that's equip or CDK, so that's where the customer information comes from. We have the ability for our sales reps or CSAs to actually add machines to a customer record. So if there's something that's not in the business system, they need to get a trade evaluation done on it or something they bought from somewhere else, we can still support it. They could add it from their mobile phone, kick off a service request or whatever. I think one of the challenges becomes where you have customers you're doing business with for years and years, and equipment's getting traded, and then you look in the history, and now they have 400 machines on their record. I think, Birch, that's very much still a challenge to deal with, and I feel like in some degrees we're limited to what we can write back to an equip or CDK by those companies. I mean, I feel like the platform, we have all the capabilities in the world and they can be built, but we have to have that reciprocity from the CDK or equip to be able to write those kinds of changes back.
Can we do that? I mean, I don't know. Can we, like, if we're in the field, a salesman's in the field and he knows that these 5 pieces need to go, can you do that and it'll link back to the business system through?
Okay. But you could easily set up like a request type form that then goes off to someone that can then take care of that for them, yes.
So you're still multiple database.
Absolutely.
It is. It can be set up where basically you could request that machinery be removed in probably 2 clicks, but then somebody actually has to take that action in the business system today. I think as things evolve, I mean, I know I've been talking to our IT director, and we're looking to see how we can make more integration and have our different systems talking to one another, where maybe we can build a microprocessor server or something like that that will do that kind of work. That's probably stuff we're talking about doing this outside the scope of just what Anvil does.
Just to add a little bit to that, the business system does determine what's possible. So equip does have a 2-way API. So if you're on that, there are information being fed back, updating. There is a create customer piece of equipment into that piece there. How do you want to open that up to everybody? On the CDK side, we're more of a 1-way out for the CDK system there, and it's just whatever that system then has capabilities to is what we have as our happen. Do we have another question from the crowd? We've got one in the back.
I'm just going to ask from a contact standpoint on the CRM side, is there a way that you can update a contact, say like obviously, names, numbers change over time, and that's, important with a CRM to make sure that you're keeping it updated, and is there something to trigger your employees to make sure they're, confirming the contact information, maybe, once a year or once every 6 months to make sure that that's up to date, and can you update that in the system and have it drive into the business system?
So I guess as a CDK dealer, we have a 1-way connection. So we have it set up where the salesman can make all their changes in the Anvil system. So they can change the email, phone numbers, and all of that, and it automatically triggers a request to a specific individual who makes those updates in the business system. So that's how we keep all those linked, that way for the salesman, it's easy, it's fast, now we can actually do it. And then it's just kind of some administrative burden on the back end, but frankly, it's pretty simple and quick to do those.
We've actually kind of taken the approach, we don't let salesmen do that just yet. It's kind of been a learning process for us of what they can or cannot edit and what the two-way looks like. So we're still learning that. But on the account, the only thing that they're allowed to edit right now is the customer entity ID number, so the connection with the Deere account. Yep, so we've left it at that for now, and we have an admin at each location that handles all account changes. That's probably not the right way to do it, but that's how we've started.
We've tried to put some rules in place to prevent like duplication of records. I mean, the challenge is our salespeople have the best record of who their customers are, particularly those that are large ag sales or our construction account managers and dealing with the same customers over and over. The best contact cards that exist are in their cell phones. So through the mobile app, they actually can pull up an account and hit a button to import a contact from their local iPhone contacts onto the account record. And that's how we're picking up more irrelevant information. But we do have rules in place to where if they're trying to add a prospect or add a contact to an account, it'll flag it if it looks like, hey, you're creating a duplicate record. We put some rules in place around that. So I think that where we're getting into is like quality of data and data cleanliness. And this is probably an area that for many of us, maybe we've been sloppy on for a while because we haven't had the best tools to manage it. And now that we're getting everybody on the same platform, we have the ability to start doing something with it. And we're going to be working on data cleansing and cleanup. We did go through a lot of account cleanup before we rolled the river out, folks, and deleted a lot of inactive accounts and that sort of thing. But I think data cleansing is going to be even more important as we're dealing with more and more customers. We're trying to use that data for other purposes in marketing and remarketing. It's got to be a both.
Could you, Thomas, can you put a requirement if you're going to add a contact that you have to provide phone number, email address, and all the
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
We've got that today. So like sales now, Josh requires mandatory like mobile or cellular based number, right, and an email address right before they can even go and create a contact. And we've had the conversation. It was before you come to the company at this point, but there was a big push on what salesmen can and can't change when it comes to name and or address information. And we kind of dropped it at that point because we got a big pushback from the accounts receivable team on letting salesmen make changes to account information, right?
I think there's even multiple contacts, right? Because the contact for accounts receivable is not the same contact for service, is not the same contact for sales, right? And so, I mean, I think it's actually going to be both.
I'll write that one up. That's a great distinction there because you guys kind of flipped on both sides of that. The account and the contact goes together. So the eQuip account is like a financial account. And you can add all the people to that as a contact as you want, and that's what Thomas was talking about with the mobile app, being able to upload directly from there. The other thing the mobile app does is it reads your CRM for your caller ID. So if you're on an Apple device and there's a contact in the CRM, your phone tells you who that is, even if they're not in your phone, because of that app interface and stuff that we have the Apple side. Android does not do that yet, but the Apple does. So it's just that way of bringing that together and pulling that together. But the account side is the source of truth out of the business system. The contact side is, yes, add your own contacts, do whatever you need to do there as well. And that's part of the CRM kind of go there. So we've got about 15 to 20 minutes left. Does anyone else have a question in the crowd? Okay, sorry. We'll go over here.
You suggested that we have a dedicated person for this, or you suggest a full-time role? Does Salesforce background, or what are you suggesting?
No. So I guess the way I would explain that is if our sales manager was in charge of this, it wouldn't have got done at the same time. If our controller was in charge of this, it wouldn't have got done. There's too many other responsibilities for those individuals to handle it, at least in our organization. So I kind of came in as somebody that's had exposure to all sides of the business and was able to be that project manager and drive it forward. So and there's also, you can say there's favorites played. So if the sales manager wasn't one in charge of it. There could be things made for salesmen that maybe the settlement folks didn't like or whatever. So so it was just a good way for me to bring everybody together and produce an outcome that worked for the business and not just one subset of individuals.
So it doesn't need ongoing maintenance with that role?
No, I mean, again, I'm saying this or similar to him, right? A lot of other responsibilities within the company, but I am the primary point and focus person for it. You know, meet weekly at this point with, you know, someone from Jason's team, and, you know, there's always enhancements, right? We're always trying to make changes, make things better, right? And, enhancing our process. So that never ends, but it becomes, you know, it's just a small part of keeping things moving.
You're asking about ongoing maintenance, and it's not so much ongoing maintenance, it's that the more users you have in there, the more ideas they're gonna be coming with, saying, ooh, this is great, I have this idea, can you do this, can you do that? And I found very few times to actually say, no, we cannot, because the answer is pretty much anything you wanna do is achievable. But you have to start prioritizing and figuring out what's really important to your organization. But the ideas will be coming of things you can do to make their lives easier and better. And you're gonna need somebody to drive those projects. In our organization, so I took the lead of rolling this out. I do have a full-time person that is working on this as well, but keep in mind, we're rolling this out for basically 3 companies at once, between Four Rivers Construction and James River Ag and James River Construction. I've got 700 users, so we probably have a need where we do have to have somebody full-time. But what we're doing is we're adding users, working on permission sets. We're sometimes working and tweaking out page layouts, working on flows, and people are wanting to build requests for functionality. We're kind of mapping out, okay, what needs to be done. Some of that we do ourselves. A lot of that we'll put in a support request for the Anvil team to go back and build for us as well. So I kind of look at this as like, we're level 1 triage, and then the more advanced things that we're sending over to Anvil to build out those functions and capabilities for us. The person, Glenn, who works on this for us, he is not a Salesforce certified admin. I actually was not looking to hire that into this role, but I wanted somebody that understood dealership business, and he came out of dealership and he understood John Deere. So he's been learning the system as we go. But having somebody on staff that can handle what I'll call some of the more basic tweaks is worthwhile.
Neil, you're that person. You want to describe what you do?
Yeah, so I guess I have a few pillars to my job.
Yeah.
I guess ran the development and helped launch our Anvil system, did all the training for it. But I'm also the subject matter expert for John Deere incentives for our dealership. So it's definitely not full time for that. I'd say it's a good 20 hours a week, something like that. But it's a lot less maintenance as it is. Like you said, a lot of people are bringing you new ideas. There's new things you want to do. So it's just continually developing more rather than maintaining prior development.
Okay.
Did you guys create your own training for your people, your salesmen?
Kind of. We've done a lot of, I don't know what to call it, kind of like screenshot flows, where it's just like, hey, to do this one specific task, like here's, a PDF document in case you forgot. But otherwise, we kind of have a monthly Connect call where we talk through, hey, these are the new things that have changed. We're adding that much stuff that, say, we came out with these more new things, and usually kind of send out some follow-ups to that. But otherwise, when we originally launched it, we did one-on-one training with every single salesman. And it was, once you're trained, now you're in it. Forget about the other system. But, yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of utilized the same approach. So as I've got questions, if I hear a question 3 or 4 times, then I create like a how-to document. And I'll put it on our SharePoint for people to go look at. And I try to direct them as much as possible because they'll work it out, especially Chad.
What we see from that is sometimes it's what this button does, but other times it's actually what is the process, what are you expecting from your people? So those have to be local, right? We're providing some documentation around what the button does and how does it work, and we release this feature and such, but then they take it the next step and say, and here's how we're using it, and here's what we expect from it and such like that as well. So you'll see more from us there. We did actually just add a document writer just for that purpose, and that's his full-time job now. He came from a dealership that's been using Anvil for 4 years now, so we'll see some good stuff there.
Most of my questions have not been like, what's this button do? It's, hey, I used to do this way. How do I do it now? So it's just this, they know what they're trying to accomplish. They just don't know where to go to accomplish it.
We had a question coming from over here.
Yeah, this is future looking. I know we're trying to just get it really up and running, and it's going really well. But sitting in some other sessions where we've been learning a lot about like Microsoft Copilot and its capabilities, what can happen. Is Salesforce heading in that direction where a sales lead can come in and can then look at the inventory, give a recommendation back to the person right then and there versus them having to do all the work? All the data's there. Is that a direction that it's in?
I'll take that one just because it's so new. As part of that's the language model, but then there's also what do you do with it and how do you prompt it correctly? Salesforce has announced they're actually using Copilot as a language model.
So they are used to it.
But then what we have in front of it is the prompt builder, as well as the where it augments some of the local data so it doesn't actually leave your work. And then the actions that make it happen into something specific around what you're doing. Those are the pieces we'll be adding around that. So it is the Salesforce Copilot, I guess, in the column of that. It just launched today, actually, with the pieces of using that inside there. So we are going the AI route, and in fact, we've got a member of the panel there, Hank, is part of the Tractor Zoom team, dedicated to just AI and the tractor and the data analysis and those pieces as well. So it's definitely a part of our DNA.
And then follow up, and this is to the panel then. So Outlook kind of goes, does Outlook kind of go away for the group and they live in Anvil for calendar, for emailing? Or is it really kind of bouncing back and forth still with the groups?
I think we all do it separately, or we have different approaches, I'm guessing. We keep it separate. So although you're using Chatter for a whole bunch of that internal communication, anything direct to customers, we still use Outlook for calendar. Yeah, we don't have it connected.
One of the big values our team saw in it was integration with Outlook. But a big sticking point going on this, like one of the requirements was, dang it, I just want one freaking calendar. And we got them to one calendar. So they pull up their calendar on their iPhone, even if they're using a native Apple calendar, because of Office 365, now anything, whether it's planned through Salesforce, is planned through their Outlook, or they add it on their phone, it's all in one place. So that we've gotten that. We are using Einstein Activity Capture, which that's part of, and that's related to Salesforce Inbox. That has further Outlook integration. I don't think every dealer on Anvil is using that functionality, but our users found value in that because it's actually tying automatically any email in their Outlook. If that address on the email is on a customer record or a customer account, it automatically ties that email to it. So now, when they're in the river and they're looking at an account, they can see all the emails between them and a CSA and other people in the company. If they're emailing that customer, they can see the activity, what's going on to that customer, and they found the value in that. So I don't think we're going to see people getting out of Outlook, but the integrations are there, so no matter where you're working, they're finding they can work in Outlook, they can work in the river, they can work in different places, they can work on a mobile phone and accomplish the tasks where they are at that current point in time.
Well, we're 10 minutes left, so I'll wrap us up here. There's a couple of them. Really, what is your roadmap? Where do you see yourself, your dealership moving towards? What's on your next 2-year wish list or 1 year? Where do you see yourself moving next? Let's go ahead and
I guess I'll start with that. So we, again, when we came out of the gate, right, our primary focus was inventory, workflow. We are finally starting to head down the path of utilizing the CRM, which of course is what this meeting platform is intended to be used for. So over the next year or so here, the CNF side is certainly driving that much heavier than our ag and turf side is. But we can see, there are benefits for it as well from the ag and turf side. with our large ag salesmen and our CCE-based salesmen on that side. So that's I guess for us, that's going to be the next big direction, is actually utilizing the CRM functionality within the platform and continuing to develop and enhance that.
I think next steps for us, and again, we're pretty new here, but I intend to build out a trucking request. So basically our entire trucking department can work through Anvil via a request. So that's probably the biggest thing. And then over the next 12 months, bringing in parts and service as well. That's low hanging fruit for us. We chose not to do that out of the gate for the sake of sticking with the sales force of our dealership and getting them up to speed. But after that, the parts and service are going to be next.
I guess the two that we kind of have on our horizon right now, one is pulling in more service information about current equipment inventory, where it's at in the shop, and kind of connecting that to CDK. And then beyond that, kind of working into some predictive modeling. So just since we have all this data from all these different systems, really pulling that together, we have the customer's history. We start guessing what their next move is.
We're in basically 3 phases of rollout, and so we still have some phases of rollout to do. Our next major step is rolling out workflow for the Four River side of the organization. But from there, we know we need to work on reports and dashboards to get meaningful insights out. We felt like we really couldn't do too much of that ahead of time because we needed data and information flowing through the system to be able to pull some stuff out and kind of say, okay, what do we really want to be looking at that we can make decisions off of? So that's where our focus is starting to turn this summer as well, is building that out. The next big thing is rentals. We've got to work out rental operations for both short and long-term rentals on the construction side of doing that efficiently. And so we're looking to build that in through the river and how we do that integration.
I'll add just a few items there that we're working on that we'll be bringing out as well. One of them is Anvil Messenger, which is text messaging on the platform, right at the contact, right at the request, right at the quote. Doing that either through the one-to-one, the outreach type campaigns, etc. There's been a lot of aspects about that. We're also bringing out the Anvil document. So document generation was right on the platform as well, so creating those documents that you need. And we're also got quite a few different dealers working with us on DocuSign packets and other things being part of that order to cash piece as well. Those are all 3 going through final testing and documentation right now as well. But as you go to developer.deere.com and you see those new APIs that are out there, December we launched the customer lead generator, that predictability for those leads feeding right into the request leads for your sales team. We're also the John Deere API for the online credit application is now live as well. We're going to bringing those into the sales channel directly instead of via the email. And many more coming, but that's the other areas that we're looking into just right now with the current release. All 5 of those things come into place. And that's what we do. We look at those different environments coming in. Each organization is a little bit different. And that's the tailoring that we do. So we come into there, take something that's best practice, but then it works a little bit differently in each group because each group works a little differently. And that's the balance we're trying to bring. Thanks to our panel for sacrificing themselves. And thanks to the audience for the great questions. If you have any questions,